Hey guys, how's it going? It's your boy Trey here from the Stone Disclosure. I'm sure you guys know who it is right now, just based on the voice. I'm sitting here with my nice ice cold Heineken. Absolutely amazing. This segment is really just for me to answer a question. I was asked by a couple of friends of mine, a couple of people that I know, and actually a couple of strangers who kind of overheard the conversation. Like, oh, well, why did you get into podcasting? Why do you want to do a podcast? All right. I also had people saying like, "Oh, well, why would you even want to try that? I don't think it's going to go anywhere." And my response to them, well, those haters was like straight up, well, we'll see, right? I'm not expecting much, but we'll see if it helps people and people like it, then that's great. But to touch upon that, I really thought about it, and I guess that's what this segment is going to be about. Now, in case people didn't know, before when I was younger, we're talking like when I was a child. If you had asked me what I was going to be with my life when I get older, I said I was going to be Michael Jackson. As silly as it is, I was practicing all the poses. I was practicing my hee-hees and all of that good stuff. So for me, that was like my goal. My goal was to be Michael Jackson. I didn't expect to be anything else. As I got older, I realized I wasn't as talented as Michael, and I was never going to be. And things just kind of changed for me. I was from the islands. I grew up in Trinidad, and I was there like for the first, I say, 6, 7 years of my life. And then I came over to Canada, and like everything changed for me. I didn't know anybody. I didn't really have any friends or anything like that. I had the accent, and everybody finds it funny because they're all speaking like this, and I'm coming up like, "Hey boy, what you doing over there now? Call me here now," and everybody's looking at you like you're a weirdo. So I really didn't have a whole lot of friends, and my music taste changed when I came here. I came here and I started listening to NWA and Wu Tang Clan and Tupac Shakur. And I think Tupac really was the one who changed my perception. And that for me was one of those moments in your life where you don't realize how big of a moment that was. You don't realize how much that changes who you are and adds to your genetic makeup. Just listening to a Tupac track changed my life. So when I heard Keep Your Head Up for the first time, I was like, wow, this man's amazing. So to segue into that, I got into hip hop, right? Rap became a thing for me. I was listening to rap more than I was listening to anything else. And I mean some really gangsta ass shit. And from then I was like, all right, maybe I'm going to be a rapper. Maybe I'll be like a singer. Like I knew I could sing. I actually don't have a bad voice. I was in the choir and everything like that, but I just didn't have that oomph anymore. And I carried a lot of anger with me as a kid. A lot of people don't know my life history, and that's gonna come up eventually. I'm just not gonna talk about that now. But anyone who's close to me knows like I didn't have it easy. So rap kind of was like my outlet for that anger. It was kind of my outlet to like get all that shit out. Right? You're out there and you're listening to like some fucking heavy ass like gangster shit, and you're just like, yeah, fuck a bitch, and like, you know what I mean? Like, it really got you jazzed and it got you riled up, and you're just like, yeah, and you had the outlet to deal with that anger. So my goal then was like, yeah, I'm gonna try my hand at this music thing, right? So I'd say grade 6 to grade 12, I was really into recording, and I was a poet, so I used to write all the time, and then those poems got turned into songs, and then these songs I would start to just kind of like perform to myself and have like shower concerts and shit. And then I thought, yo, you know what? Why not just start recording it? So I really didn't start doing that till the ninth grade. I was able to use the music room, and the music teacher heard just one day like one of the songs. I was just in there. It was me and this other guy. This older guy was a friend of my brother's, and we were in there just like vibing. You know what I mean? And she heard it. And she's like, "Wow, that's amazing." And I'm like, "Thanks." And she's like, "I normally don't give this luxury to people who aren't in my class, but if you want to use this, feel free. feel free to come here on your lunch times. If you want a couple hours after school, just let me know. I can leave it open for you. So she would leave the music room open for us. And after school, she would leave the key available so we could use it and then just lock up. And that's all she asked. So I did music for years, right? We're looking at like even a couple years outside of high school. So we're looking at 6, 7 years that I was like not in it too heavy, but still, I was making songs and stuff like that. And it was starting to get some movement. It was starting to gain some traction. Again, still wasn't anything too, like I wasn't Tupac. So, I consider that a failure. After that, I got into DJing. You know what I mean? I was always just kind of in that mindset of like trying to like entertain. And the music's thing, I started to kind of lose like my love for it. DJing became a job, so it became stressful. When it came to the music aspect itself, I did get signed to a couple small labels, and they just had all these ridiculous demands, like we want this done by this date, and we want this done by that date, and I'm like, that's just not how I work. That's not why I did this. I started writing music to deal with my emotions and deal with my angers and get my thoughts out, right? So I can live a productive life and I didn't hate the world. So when it started becoming stress and it started giving me anxiety, I walked away from it. And I said, too bad. I'm not going to deal with this bullshit because there's no point. And after that, I kind of never really had that outlet. Like I'd find different outlets. I got into gaming. Nothing competitive. I'm not that freaking good. But, I kept with music, but more on like the playing instruments and learning how to play instruments and stuff like that. I got into martial arts. I got into working out, exercise, and then whatever job I was in, I just became infatuated with it, right? So infatuated. Then I got a car. And when I got a car, I didn't really have like a CD player for the longest while. I didn't even have a fucking tape player. So all I had was a radio because the tape player didn't work. So for the longest while, it was like the CD deck didn't work, but I didn't want to say so because it wasn't my actual car. It was loaned to me, and I didn't want the person to think that I broke their car, but it just really wasn't working at the time. So I listened to radio, and if anybody knows, like 935 and Z103 and all those places, early in the morning when I have to drop like my siblings off to school and stuff, it's these radio hosts and they're just chatting about shit. And I was so infatuated by it. I was like, wow, like this is actually pretty cool. You get to sit here and hear this dialogue and hear like a whole other conversation. I'm a big people watcher. I love to observe people and I like to hear their stories and their experiences and stuff like that. I'm ironically pretty antisocial, which is funny because you would never understand it when it comes to me. Like if I'm around a group of people, I can carry a conversation. If I want to engage in a conversation with a person, I have no problem. I'll walk up and be like, hey, how's it going? Like, how's it going? Like, let's talk about this. Let's talk about that. But like deep down inside, I'm just like, cringe, right? Anxiety. Like, I don't know what to do. Am I saying the right shit? Especially at that age, because I didn't know myself. I wasn't sure of who I was. I didn't think that my thought processes were normal and the way I looked at the world was normal. There was a lot of people that would look at a situation and be like, oh, that's fucked up, man. That's so bad. I'm like, yeah, it's bad. But at the same time, like this happens. So, hey. Right. So I thought I was a weirdo. I really did. I thought I was like a fucked up individual. And I thought like it was really just based on my past, right? And the way I grew up. So I really would distance myself from certain people. I kept my circle small and all of that. Now, I know this isn't really answering the question, but I do want to give you guys a backstory because I didn't just end up here overnight. Going through what I go through in my life and dealing with all the situations that I have, I'm desensitized to a lot of things. A lot of situations that a lot of people would look at and be like, oh my God, this is horrible. Like I can openly talk about and not give two fucks because I'm used to it. I've been there. I saw some stuff before I was like 16 years old that people don't see or deal with until they're in their 30s. So I was very mature for my age. I was very, like, thought process was a little bit different. I did carry a lot of hurt, and I think that's really where more set me back than anything else. That being said, whenever shit hit the fan, I was the person they called. Whenever someone was trying to figure something out or they were in their feelings about something, I was the friend you reached out to. I was the one you came to for advice. I was the one who was like, I don't know what to do with this. Like, I was the one who you would call, right? So you just go through this cycle of just being that person that can be there for everybody else. And you never really have anybody be there for you, but I was okay with that because I didn't think anyone would be able to think like me anyways to give me that advice back. I was wrong. I did come across a couple of friends in my life who they may not fully understand me or think along the way I think, but they accept me for it. And I love you guys to death. You know who you are. I don't have to mention names. You know who you are. Years pass, you go through more things in life, and you come across more situations. And I got to a point in my life where on paper I had everything you would want. Everything you would want. I was married. I had a beautiful child. He is like the light of my life. He's such an amazing kid. I had a great job. I was in a long-term relationship. The only thing I didn't have was the house and a retirement. And that was about it. Everything else fell into play. And I lost it. Right? I lost that marriage. The marriage didn't work out. We're still good friends, but the marriage itself didn't work out. My son's still there, which is amazing, and he's still flourishing. He's still awesome. So you do have some positives and you do get some negatives from it in your life. And this job that I was so happy to get because I really worked my ass off for it now becomes tainted because like when you gain it, you lose something else. And I had to do a lot of soul searching. I really went through a lot of situations. I felt for the longest while that I was just not good at anything. I wasn't good at doing, and I can put in all the effort I want, but it just never was good enough, and it will never be good enough. And I took that internally. I made that my problem. I made it that I was doing something wrong, and there was no way, shape, or form that the other people around who made me feel like this, like there was something wrong with them. It was definitely me. It had to be me. That's the only thing that makes sense. I'm the fucked up one. I'm the weirdo. I'm the idiot who just can't make it work. I would be in certain situations and not view them the same way as everybody else. Somebody would look at it and be like, well, this is it. And then I'm like, no, it's not. I didn't take into consideration that the people around me could be broken as well. I didn't take into consideration that maybe this is a manifestation of their insecurities, a manifestation of their anger and their life, just like the trauma from their life. And I carried a lot of trauma with me, and I think I carried so much that I just started putting it all in the back closet and saying, fuck this, I'm not dealing with this now. I'm not looking at this. This doesn't exist. And you can try to believe that the boogeyman doesn't exist as much as you want until he comes out of the closet and snatches your ass and pulls you right back fucking in. I fell into depression. Had thoughts at points where I felt like I shouldn't be having. I had moments in my life where I felt like, why am I here? And it sucks because I was never that person. Okay, let me rephrase that. It's not that I was never that person. I didn't think I was that person anymore. Right? These are feelings I had when I was younger. These are feelings I had in high school growing up. There were moments where, as much as they would be small and inconsistent and everybody else goes through it, to me it was a big deal. When I got my heart broken for the first time, I took that shit on the fucking chin. And then for me, it was just such a big deal because I put so much in. I showed this person so much love, and just I never got it back, right? And you had that you were dealing with. I was dealing with my shit at home. I was trying to figure out what the fuck I'm going to do with my life. Like, it was a really stressful time, and I didn't really know how to cope very well. Music actually saved me because I was thinking some of these thoughts back then, and music, I was able to write this stuff down. I was able to put it into a song. I was able to get it out of my system and move on like a soldier. And then losing that made it hard because now what was my outlet? So instead of dealing with these things head on, I was more just kind of like, I'm going to put it in the back burner and not think about it, not worry about it. Oh, it doesn't matter. It is what it is. This is life. This is how it goes. And throughout that time frame, to wind back into that same feeling, to fall back into that pit again, was so surreal for me. It was so eye-opening because I felt the person I was at 16 versus the person I was at that time were supposed to be two different individuals. It was almost like I didn't learn anything. It was almost like I didn't improve at all. It was almost like it was all a farce. Because if you work so hard to get where you're at, and everything that you wanted, you achieved, why are you here again? And I really had to take a long, hard look in the mirror, and coming out of that was not easy. Especially this time around, it was not easy. It took a lot of self-conversations with myself. It took a lot of moments where I'm broken, just lying there, just going through every emotion under the sun. It took a lot of soul searching. I think if it wasn't for the people around me, and I think if it wasn't for my son, it might have been different. When I looked at this and I say, hey, listen, I got to be strong for him. I got to be strong for that little guy, because he legitimately saved my life. Right? I don't know where I'd be if he wasn't here. So coming out of that, I started seeing a therapist. Great therapist. If you guys need a therapist, just let me know. He's amazing, especially for the guys out there. He is incredible. And he took such a different approach, because normally, like, therapist comes in and then they're like, tell me about your life and tell me about this. But he does it in a way where he just allows me to kind of have a dialogue like this, right? He allows me to kind of just like say what I gotta say in such an open sense. And we had such a bond off the jump that I felt like I was just talking to a friend as opposed to talking to a therapist. And that's why we get along so well. And I'm talking to him about concepts about life, and he's like, oh no, I got that, but that's amazing. Like, I'm looking at it this way, and now you've changed my perspective. Like, it's almost like we learn off each other. It's crazy. And I think I grew a love for that. You know what I mean? I grew a love for coming in there and just kind of being like, well, this is how I view things, and this is how I think life is. And he's just kind of like, wow, that's incredible. Like, not a lot of people think like that. And he appreciated seeing that different view. Right? And maybe I just didn't see it before. Maybe I just didn't see it as people liking that, or people taking that in a different way. Maybe I was looking at it like, no, they just think I'm weird. They just think I'm strange. And they're just saying that to be nice. Right? But coming out of that, it also opened up a lot in me. It let me realize that, listen, man, like, it's okay to be different, and it's okay to be weird, and it's okay to have your opinions. And if these people are coming to you and asking for your opinion, then they obviously value it. And I remember we were having that conversation, and he said, you have to be able to protect that inner child in you. And that inner child for me was music. That inner child, that's what the music was for. It was to help protect the inner child, and I wasn't doing that anymore. So then I started thinking, like, I enjoy actually just talking to people. I enjoy relating to people. I enjoy speaking. I enjoy teaching. I enjoy mentoring. I enjoy giving an opinion, hoping it helps, giving advice. And I was watching Joe Rogan, if I'm being completely honest with you. I was watching the Joe Rogan Experience, like, oh shit, I agree with this guy on some things. I wish I could talk to this guy. I wish I could have a conversation, a sit down with him and just like discuss some shit. I thought to myself, like, why don't you do this shit? Why don't you try your hand at it? You never know, right? It gives you an opportunity to kind of do that, but on a bigger scale. And if people want to hear it, they'll tune in. And if they don't, it's fine. That way you're not forcing anything down anybody's throat. I was sitting with my brother and sister, Tristan and Jay, who are the other members of the Stone Disclosure. And I sat with them one day, and I was just kind of like, guys, we sit here all day and have these full-blown discussions about all types of shit. And I mean hours. We're at the table. we're like all lying in a bed together, just discussing all types of foolishness. You're standing in a corner and your legs are hurting because you've been standing for so long that you're limping away. Your leg falls asleep. Like, you don't realize it. You sit there and we talk about this stuff all the time. Why don't we just do a podcast? Why don't we just put these thoughts out there and see if anybody else can benefit from it, if anybody would like to hear it? And that's kind of where the idea came from, man. I was teetering with it for so long because, anybody who's an overthinker and anybody who suffers from anxiety, we're going to just be like thinking about this back and forth for hours before, like days, weeks, months, before we ever really make a decision on it. And that's where we were at, right? That's where I was at personally. Like, can I do this? Would anybody even listen to this shit? Like, would I just be wasting my time? Am I willing to put myself out there like that? Because like once it's out there, that's how you think. That's how people can judge you, right? And judgment is huge, and everyone's afraid of that. And then a part of me was just kind of like, you didn't have these thoughts. You didn't think this way when you're doing music. So why do you care now? And I just woke up one day and said, fuck it. I bought all the equipment and said, okay, now I've committed, right? I've invested money into this. We're doing it. And then we came up with a bunch of concepts and things we were going to talk about. And that's where the idea for the podcast came from. It was really just me finding another way to cope with the anxiety and trying to share my life with you guys, right? Share my life with you guys who hopefully can take something from it and improve your lives in some way. Or if you don't agree with what I'm saying, then you know what you don't like and what you do like and stuff like that. I really appreciate anybody who is here listening to this right now. I really do appreciate that you took the time out of your day just to even listen to anything that we have to say. Right? We truly do it for you guys. Though we do it for ourselves too. Or me personally, I do it to help me with my anxiety and dealing with things and getting these ideas out there. But I do love the fact that there's a community out there that I can vent to. Right? There's a community out there that I can speak to and attest to and say, hey, listen, guys, like this is how I feel. How do you guys feel? Right? And that's why I love feedback. That's why I always say, hey, listen, don't be afraid to comment. Don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid to disagree. If anybody out there disagrees with anything I have to say, let's come get together. Let's do this. Let's talk about this shit. You know what I mean? Like, I get excited for this. I love to learn about people. I love to learn differences, and I love to see differences. And that's where the idea really for the podcast came from, because we're three individuals that think differently, right? We had different experiences with our family. We had different experiences in life. I'm older than them, right? Trista's the youngest, and she's a female. We all go through different things, so we're going to view the world differently, and it gave us the opportunity to come together and kind of discuss these things in an open and honest setting. So I really do appreciate anybody out there who listens to the podcast or listens to this stuff or anything like that. And I love you guys 110%. If you guys have anything else you would like us to talk about or discuss, feel free, just let us know. Again, I'm always going to plug it because I have to, because I like those subscriptions, because it means you're invested, you're dedicated, right? So do subscribe, do like the video, do share if you feel like somebody else would want to like listen to some of the stuff we talk about. I'm not opposed to you sharing the stuff. Go for it. Comment in the bottom if you have anything you got to say, if you have anything you want us to do. And, I guess hang tuned for the next one, guys. Peace.